G'day guys, how's it going? Welcome back of course to the Time Bomb channel. I hope all is good in your part of the world. The Invicta Activa Digitex reference ACW 424005. In breaking news today, we discovered that Invicta are trying to tackle the Casio Square. Do they fail epically or triumph Invictus? Watch on. A recent release, as you can see, it's sort of a combination. Let me just get it off there. It's sort of a combination, really, of the F91, excuse me, and the 5600 series. It's square and it's digital. Let me just pause there and get a little closer to it. Yeah, as I was saying, so yeah, it's square and it's digital, and almost everything is copied. Even the excuse me, get my finger out the way. Even the function buttons, the positioning of the function buttons, and the text on the function buttons are pretty much identical. So yeah, lawsuit anyone? For those haters amongst you, it doesn't say Invicta on the externals, so that should appeal to you. And to those Invicta fans out there, I think this is going to keep them happy, because this is something slightly different to their divers and chronos and all their other types of watches. The X indicates that it's a collaboration, but I have no idea what Activa, who or what Activa are or Digitex are. Again, so if you can enlighten me to any of those aspects, that would be really great to hear. These retail for around £20 here in the UK, but they're currently on offer on the US website here, as you can see, at $14.90. So they're clearly pushing really hard to try and sell them, and it also then makes you wonder how much they actually cost to produce. So kicking off with some key specs, it's around 44 mils across, about 13 mils deep, which is quite odd. It doesn't need to be that deep, because what's inside, I imagine, is going to be really slim. It's around 47 mils north to south, but again, that kind of depends on where you measure the endings of those straps too. So again, it's pretty easy on wrist. And again, just to put it next to the 5600 here, it's a fraction smaller than this one, but it is considerably lighter. I don't know if we can see it on dial there. Let's get a little bit closer. Yeah. So water resistance is printed very boldly here and confidently at the bottom of the dial, but it is, as you can see, only 30 meters of watery goodness. So yes, that's more splash resistant, but more on that later. I'll touch on that in a second. Obviously, it's a quartz, but they don't say which movement. And there is zero clues on the case back as to what kind of a movement that is. So I'm suggesting that it is going to be simply a Chinese clone quartz movement. Notice as well that the date, the 825, obviously is the US styly, and I haven't found a way yet to reverse it to Euro styly. So again, if you know about that, then let me know. The buttons perhaps also are not as intuitive as maybe the labeling suggests. So actually adjust is the light and doesn't actually adjust anything. Even if you hold it down, it's still not adjusting anything. So to adjust the time, you need to scroll through your functions. And then when you come onto the third press on time, that's when you can start adjusting things. But again, you notice that the adjust button doesn't actually adjust. If you want to move things forward, you need to use the setting buttons on the right hand side here. Again, so slightly odd. It also says then here at the bottom, receiving, but I'm not quite sure what it's receiving, whether it's receiving indecent proposals or something else, but it's certainly not receiving any satellite indications as to, satellite updates or updates on timings. Obviously, then you see functions, you've got stopwatches and alarms, and that's pretty much it. So again, a pretty basic module. However, one of the things that it is quite comical, actually, if you were learning how to use the watch, is that then you come to your instructions, and this is where it gets, as I say, pretty darn comical, because referencing that water resistance, point number one, it says the watch can be exposed to minor splashes of water, but avoid doing it. So yes, under no, it is splash resistant, but under no circumstances get it wet. It also says don't wear it if it's too hot outside or too cold. It also suggests that the watch is then proudly shock resistant, but then where's it gone? Sorry, yeah. Point 4, it says avoid dropping it. So you've got minor bumps and falls, but not hard impacts. So it is not shock resistant under any circumstances. It's also 0.8 there, rather amusingly says, so if you sweat a little bit too much, so if you're sweaty type, again, don't wear it. So clearly you're not going to be wearing this while doing any sport. And yeah, so in conclusion, I think from the instructions we should suppose that one should only wear these things at home, sitting on the sofa in a temperate zone. Yeah, again, there's no indication on here at all as to what the receiving is. Again, so I think it's just simply where they've copied the G-Shock dials and just yeah. Anyway, it's on wrist. Excuse me, on wrist. So I'm rocking my Jelly G-Shock here. Thanks again to Mr. E for this one. I know he didn't like it, but I think it's a hugely fun watch. Let me just throw this Invicta on wrist as well. As I say, size wise, it fits pretty well on most wrists. My wrist for reference is 7 1/4, so as you can see, it works fairly well. Yeah, the strap is fairly pliable, it's not too stiff. But again, we're coming back to this on here when it talks about sweating. It says if you're going to sweat too much, that the band is going to fade and crack. So again, you're imagining that longevity, it doesn't have exactly bunches of it. The clasp is not signed. Let me throw up a close up of the case back because it's getting a lot of reflection here. But as I say, the digits themselves are quite crisp and clear. But they do start distorting just around here. Now, I referenced that yeah, all digitals start distorting at a certain point, but for example, the G-Shocks distort at a much more extreme tilt angle, whereas these start to go fairly early. So again, you've got to be looking at it pretty clear head on to get that crispness of those digits. The light, so the adjust button is the light, and as you can see, it's that single bulb on that left hand side there. I mean, it's pretty solid, pretty decent. It's got a slight blue tinge to it. It's on the upside, it's pretty bright, so it works quite well. These watches do come in a couple of other colors too. Here's a few of them, and I think that there are a few other variants as well. So I think for Invicta fans, you can pick and choose your bright positive colors as you want, and it's going to be pretty easy to mix them up because yeah, you've just got straightforward hex screws in there. So yeah, you can swap out your bands and your bezels, etc., to make your own combos. And for that price as well of £20, it's going to be quite easy. Get 3 of these, and you can give yourself a little bit of variety. I think though, quite seriously, if they want to topple Casio, I think they're going to need to do a lot better than this. It is perhaps just the first bash of theirs at the squares. Maybe, hopefully, future releases are going to be a little bit better. So in conclusion, yes, they are cheap, but in that case, would an Armitron perhaps not be better? And if you really only want to spend that much money, then save yourself a tenner and grab yourself one of these, because I think it's a far more robust and useful watch than this one is ever going to be. It's not also the first attempt at digitals by Invicta, and yeah, in conclusion, I seriously think that they should focus on their divers because that's what they do best. They make some very, very solid dive watch alternatives, and yeah, those things bashing and crashing, you can do what you want to them. This one, clearly you can't sweat in it, you can't wear it if it's too too hot outside, and you can't bash it or anything on a door frame because it's just simply going to stop working. So I think again, yeah, their divers make much better wristwatches than this one is ever going to make. But anyway, it's slightly fun, and I'm thinking if you've got some teenage kids at home, they're probably going to get a kick out of these, and that's where it stops. Anyway, guys, as always, those are just my thoughts. Look forward to hearing your comments down below. Thanks as always for your time and for your view, and we'll catch you all in the next watch vid. Cheers.